Hey, thanks for joining me today. It is Monday, May 1st, 2023. That's right. My name's Tom Coffey. This is a Coffee and Nuance show. Remember, streaming live every day on YouTube and rumble.com/coffee and nuance/live. And today, we're talking about May Day. Yeah. May Day, the day we celebrate workers by not working. That's like celebrating vegetarians by eating a big juicy steak, but hey, who am I to judge, right? May Day, it's all about recognizing the contributions of workers, but let's be real. Most of us don't even notice or think about workers until they mess up our coffee order. You don't notice what a janitor does until he doesn't do it. The thing is, workers, they're everywhere. They're like ants, but with less enthusiasm. And a lot of workers have it tough. They're underpaid, overworked, and sometimes they have to deal with a-holes all day long. You can't pay me enough to be a cop or work the drive-thru at Popeyes. On this May Day, let's take a moment to recognize the contributions of workers, and if we do it from the comfort of our couch while watching Netflix, then that's okay too. But let's demand better for them. That means fair wages, safe working conditions, the right not to have to listen to complaints from whiny customers all day. And you know what? You can be pro-worker and not be all workers of the world unite commie, right? That's possible too. Workers, they're the backbone of society. They keep us moving forward even when they're tired and underappreciated. So let's give them a break today. Celebrate the hard work they do. And if you see a worker today, give them a pat on the back. But not literally. People don't like being touched by strangers. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee Nuance Show. Best censored commentary and news show live right now. Flame on. All right. Today we're talking about Ron DeSantis and the real reason that he hasn't announced for president yet. Now, if you have been watching my show, you know the real reason, but it has to do with this story I'm going to tell you about right now. Florida lawmakers have passed an election reform bill that would now allow Governor Ron DeSantis to run for president in 2024 without resigning from his current position. The change to the resign to run law has been anticipated and exempts any person seeking the office of president or vice president of the U.S. from giving up their elected post. The legislation is now awaiting DeSantis' signature. Supporters argue that the change is not specifically aimed at DeSantis, who's not yet announced his intention to run for president. However, Democrats oppose the change. What a shock. Accusing Republicans of carrying favor for DeSantis and arguing he should not be allowed to govern Florida while campaigning for president. DeSantis has denied reports that he's reached a decision to run for president in 2024. Do you believe him? All right. Well, let me turn off the flame here because it's a little loud. I'm trying to get used to that. So here we go. Yes. Now, if you have been watching my channel, I have commented on this several times that there is a law in Florida that does not allow you to run for office, run for a different office than you're employed at. It's resign to run. So they are forcing people, if they wanted to run for higher office, they'd have to resign. And I knew that this was the reason. In fact, if you watch this show, I've told you that several times, that Ron DeSantis legally can't run for president yet. And they had this special law in Florida that didn't allow it. And I said, my prediction was They're going to pass it. Ron DeSantis is going to sign it into law, and then he can announce his run for the presidency. But the really interesting thing about this story that I want you to think about is I knew this. I told you about this for at least the last month, if not longer, that's the reason that DeSantis hasn't announced, just because he legally can't, because they have a special law in Florida. But now it's been presented to him, and so he's going to sign it into law probably today. He will sign that into law, which will then allow him to run for president and be governor at the same time. But here's what I want you to think about. If I knew this, don't you think all the corporate media knew this at all as well? Of course they did. Of course they knew that this was the case. But, you put on CNN or MSNBC or something, and they're just like, I wonder why DeSantis hasn't declared yet. Maybe he's scared. Maybe. It's nonsense. They knew the reason was because there was a law in Florida that didn't allow it. And they didn't tell you. Now, I have heard, I've been talking to a number of people here in my real life, right? And they said, I did hear that. And I said, well, you probably heard it from me. And they're like, no, I might have heard it from somewhere else, but I can't remember where. So it's possible that someone out there somewhere has mentioned this. But for the most part, it hasn't been covered on any of the corporate media. Ask yourself why. Why have they kept this secret from you? I didn't keep it secret from you, but they kept this secret from the public. Speculate in the comments and let me know why. Because I really don't know why. I don't know. I guess they need lots of things to talk about. So if you bring up facts, that makes it so you can't speculate on a bunch of BS. That's my take. But that's the real reason Ron DeSantis is not announced. But I predict he will be announcing his run for president within the next 2 weeks. That's my prediction. So let's check back and see if that's the real deal. So now let's get to a little scarier thing. The World Economic Forum, dun dun dun, I need to get some sound effects for that, has published a report based on surveys of over 800 companies predicting that the global job market will face huge disruptions over the next 5 years due to the adoption of technologies such as AI, artificial intelligence, resulting in a net loss of 14 million jobs. However, the shift to renewable energy systems will generate new jobs, they claim, and the employment of data analysts and scientists, machine learning specialists, cybersecurity experts is expected to grow 30% on average by 2027. Now, despite the recent sensation surrounding AI tools, automation has expanded slowly in the early part of this decade, with organizations estimating that 34% of all business-related tasks are currently performed by machines. So I think it is important when the World Economic Forum says something to pay attention. Now, a lot of times what this organization does, now I'm not all conspiratorial like they're the global elites that are going to take over everything, even if it looks like that's what it is. But often they will do some test balloons. They try things out. They put things out to see the reaction that they will get from it, so that they can influence politicians around the world. But it's good for them to have data. So they're floating this idea that, so many jobs are going to be lost, but they think that sustainable energy, that there will be more jobs there. And I think the purpose of this is to really push different countries toward this sustainable energy model. Again, they have their reasons for doing that, and I can't mind read, so I can't tell you exactly what it is. But I do think that there's going to be a whole lot of jobs that are going to be lost to automation and technology in the next couple of years. However, that is a big opportunity as well. So if that's something that you can learn about, those jobs are going to be in much demand. But I think there's going to be more change in the next 5 years than I've seen in my life. I think things are really going to change, not just with automation, but also what's happening with banking in this country, what's happening with the U.S. Losing reserve currency status, with inflation, with all of it, remote work. It's going to be a lot of changes. And that's also what's being predicted by the World Economic Forum. So I guess I can agree with them on this one point, right? Am I allowed to do that? Can I agree with the World Economic Forum on one point, that automation is going to take millions of jobs, and we're going to have to figure out something? So on that broad idea, I'll agree with them. And that's another thing that I challenge you to do. Pick someone, a politician, an organization, anyone that you have total disdain for, and see if there's one thing that you can agree with them on. Okay? They can be totally nuts about 99% of things. That's the challenge. Can you find something that you agree with AOC on? Can you find something that you agree with MTG on? I bet you can. I bet you can. And that's my challenge on this Monday, is to find an organization or a politician you can't stand and see if you can find something you agree with them on. I think that that'll be a good move, and it'll be good. It'll be good for you. Be good for you if you can do that. So anyway, let's get on to some more, something a little bit more positive. Let's talk about the teens' new obsession. Now, according to an article in Polygon, the game of chess has become very, very popular among middle and high school students, with some schools starting chess clubs because of the demand. The trend began in 2020, in part due to the popularity of Netflix's The Queen's Gambit, and has continued to grow among preteens and teens. Chess.com, the most popular chess app, experienced server crashes due to the surge of new players. And the article says that the popularity of chess on Twitch and YouTube has contributed to the trend as well. Now, despite some concerns from administrators about classroom disruptions and attention issues, teachers generally report being pleased with this new hobby. So I did talk about this earlier in the year. Chess.com has seen the growth of active members on Chess.com just explode over the last 6 months or so. It's just gone through the roof. And they had to get all kinds of new equipment and servers and everything to be able to deal with the demand of people wanting to play chess. Now, I did set up a Chess.com account. I had all the good intentions of really getting on there and playing, and I haven't yet. Oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. And then when I do, you can challenge me if you're on chess.com. You can challenge me to a game, and you can beat me in online chess. That'll be something fun we can do when I'm not talking to you live about the news and other stuff. But have you seen this for yourself? Have you seen kids in your life, teens, kind of become more and more obsessed with chess? Because I've been noticing it as well. So I do think there is something to this trend, something to be on the lookout for, and maybe something you want to check out for yourself. But lastly today, quick show. Lastly today, let's get to some good news. The Texas antique dealer found a 2,000-year-old Roman bust at a Goodwill store in 2018 for $34.99. The marble statue belonged to King Ludwig I of Bavaria and was authenticated by Sotheby's and the Bavarian administration of state-owned palaces. The statue will be returned to Germany this month, May 2023, after being displayed at the San Antonio Museum of Art for a year. The statue is not unique, but its presence in a thrift store is what makes it an extraordinary story. So, I don't know about you. I like thrift stores. Here in Portland, we got a lot of really good thrift stores. Our Goodwills are very well maintained. They're very clean and well lit and organized really well. I know they're not all like that across the country, but here the thrift stores are especially nice and sorted really, really well. And it's kind of fun to go into a thrift store. There's two reasons that I like a thrift store. The first one is it's kind of like gambling. You know, you're putting in 10 minutes of your time. You never know if you're going to find a treasure. Okay. That's one. And the other reason that I like a thrift store is it's one of the few stores that you can go in, walk around, not buy anything at all, and leave and not feel weird, right? And sometimes that's cool. You just want to get out of the house. You want to walk around, be around the hoi polloi, be around the people. You can walk through a thrift store and walk out. You didn't find anything. That's okay. You walk around to Target, you know. You go upstairs, you go downstairs, you walk around, and you walk out without buying anything. You're kind of setting off alarm bells. So that's one of the reasons that I like thrift stores. But how about this? Finding a 2,000-year-old statue at a Goodwill, $35. It was over 50 pounds, so they probably had to get a cart. But that's incredible. One, that the person recognized that this was really something, and they had to do a lot of research to figure out exactly what the statue was. But then to, make that bet, go for that, go do that gamble, drop $35, to find out if it really is something or not. Now, one thing that you can do, which I've talked about this before, if you got an Android phone or if you have Google on your phone, you can search by just clicking on like the Google Eye, the Google app. You can search by taking a picture. So if you're at a thrift store and you find yourself, you think this could be a 2,000-year-old statue, you can hold your phone up, take a picture, search for that picture, and it might give you some information and let you know what it is. Something to consider. Anyway, now stick around for the after show. I'll be going through all your comments. Yeah, it was a short show today. One reason is I am running, I think, about a 9-year-old version of Photoshop. It took me a long time to get it working today. I mean, literally, it took like over a half hour to get it going. Otherwise, I might have had another story or two. But yeah, if you want to support this show, you can by hitting that like button over on Rumble. They take tips. That's cool too. And in the description of the video, I have a link to PayPal and all that stuff if you want to help out. I appreciate that. But anyway, that's all I have for you today on this Monday. Again, let's go out there and thank the workers for doing what they do. You know, work is what you do because they're paying you. That's what work is. And I think that that's what most of us do when we're working. We wouldn't do it if we weren't getting paid. So that's the difference between work and me doing this. I'm doing this in lieu of getting paid. But I have fun with it, and I appreciate all your feedback. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Stick around the after show, and I will see you mañana with more. Peace. Okay, here we are in the after show. Boom. We got some comments. Nice and big over on Rumble. If you want your comment to be able to be seen well on the screen, go over to Rumble. They're a little bit bigger there. Apothecary John says, "What's up? Hello." Duggo is there, and Tobias is here on Rumble. I appreciate the support on Rumble. We get so many more views, apparently, on Rumble than we do on YouTube. And I think if we got more people over there on Rumble, we might even get even more. Doesn't seem to matter how many people comment on YouTube. We get less and less views every day. So it is what it is. But anyway, let's look at what's happening in the chat. Can y'all hear something during the countdown? Very low background music. In the countdown, what I did is I took the music from my theme, and I just used the bass to have a little something there to kind of make it like a countdown. Do 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 do. You know, just the bass line from it. So that's what that was. And yes, my mic is open during the countdown. And I still would like to figure out how I can easily turn my mic on and off. I know I did it on this little thing. I have an on-off. I don't use it, though, because I'm afraid that I will forget that I have turned the mic off. And then the mic's not on, and I'm talking for a couple minutes, and I don't look at the comments, and then I don't realize. Anyway, we're still working on the whole system. But, yeah. And Tobias is here. He's got all kinds of great emoji. I appreciate all the fun emoji in the chat. Is it the fan for the lights? Oh, you may hear the fan. So I did get a new little flame here. Let me show you. I got this new little flame here rather than having a live flame every day. It does make some noise. So let me know if you hear this. I might have to take it apart and, you know, lubricate the fan a little bit more, or figure out something so it's not quite as noisy as it is. But that's that. So he changed the law to suit himself. This is speaking about Ron DeSantis. Yes. Yes. And that's what I told you he would do. Months ago, I told you exactly that they would run this through the legislature and he would change the law so that he could run for president without having to resign, which was the law in Florida. So, but I'm not aware of this law in any other state. So this was just a Florida law, and he changed it to suit himself, which is kind of what you have to do, right? So we'll see. Natasha says, I like DeSantis, but I'm concerned he's going to get offed. Well, I think that has to be the concern for anyone that wants power in this country. Things happen. Now, the difference is You know, some politicians, people that know them, disappear and die in unusual circumstances. Others don't. I don't think any of Trump's critics suicided themselves. You can't say that about a lot of other politicians, but at least his critics did not, you know, shoot themselves in the back of the head. And unlike critics of, say, Vladimir Putin, who tend to fall from tall buildings. That's something that happens over there in Russia a lot. If you're really critical of Putin, you seem to get clumsy when you're around penthouses, you know. But you know, those are the things. WEF are the disruptors. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to turn this off. It's a little too loud for me. I don't know if you can hear it or not. WEF's Schwab and Harani are some cartoonish characters. Well, they are cartoonish, like they are cartoonishly villainous, if you will. What are we supposed to do when machines take half the jobs? We just sit at the house? It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. And the difference between this automation that we're seeing today, like with the AI and stuff like that, the AI is actually taking middle class, white collar jobs, as opposed to automation in the past, which was taking blue collar jobs. And a lot of retail jobs with all the self-checkout and whatnot. You know. But you have to think, given the world that we're in today, given the automation and the AI that's taking place, what can I do to add value for a company or other people? That's the thing. What can I do to add the most value? And I know that there are things that you can add value to. You just have to figure out if it's something that you want to do, and then figure out what's your valuable skill that you can trade for cash, trade for money, right? That's the question. They view us as useless eaters. They have no idea just how useless I am, says Natasha. There's a lot of scary stuff around the World Economic Forum, and I just took it as a little challenge today to take one thing that they were saying and agree with them, because I disagree with them on so many other things. Yay, I made it. I love chess learning again right now. Well, that is cool that you're learning chess, Erie Fairy. You should sign up for an online class. Or not an online class, you know, an online account so that you can play other people. I kind of feel I've yet to play against other people. I've only played against the machine, right? Against the computer. For whatever reason, I want to get better before I play other people, but it shouldn't matter. But that's my own hang up. But I'll get to it. Lucid Moments used to play chess. You know, the thing with I liked chess in high school, chess team, but I just didn't find anyone to play with for the last few decades. And it's tough to play against someone who is not on your level. But now that you can play online, I guess, you know, they can always match you up with someone at your level. So that's kind of cool. Says, my dad was in a rigged chess match. He had to purposely lose to a bad player. He said it was totally counterintuitive. I'm sure it was. Good strategy game. Erie Fairy says, I was inspired by the book Middle Game. Okay, I don't know that game. Miranda says, I agree with MTG on opposing funding the proxy war. See, yeah, you can find people, and that, you know, that was one thing I challenged you today. Find someone you can't stand and then find something you have in common with them or that you agree with them on. I think it's a good thing to be able to find something in common with people, even if you think they're evil, right? So, yeah. Lucid Moment says, our Goodwill has crap. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but I don't remember the Goodwills in Texas being especially good or clean. But like I say, they're really nice out here. Now, there's some other issues with the Goodwill out here. I think the president of Goodwill for Oregon makes 800 grand or something insane like that, and I think there's some issues if you say you're pulling this money in so that you can train people with job training and whatnot, and then pay your president of a nonprofit nearly $1 million a year. There's a little issue there, but okay. It's a, let's see, where'd we go? Okay. It's a cool story, but that stupid bust ruined Goodwill. They never put out anything that has any potential to be a treasure. Perhaps where you are, but I've found some treasures. One treasure that I got, this might have been a Goodwill, and this was, I'm going to say it was in the 90s. But I was able to buy a Butcher cover of the Beatles, Yesterday and Today, the album, with the pasted over cover. If you happen to know what that is, then if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. But I was able to see that that's what it was, and it was in a group of like a small group of albums that I bought specifically for that one album. But yeah, for the most part, it's really hard to find treasures in Goodwill, but it's fun. It's fun, and you know what? You do have a better chance than you do at Powerball, right? You got a much better chance of winning something at Goodwill than you do at Powerball. Like many things, Goodwill was so much better pre-pandemic. Okay. I never knew May Day was a holiday, thought it was an expression from a military pilot that their plane was hit and going down. Ah, yes, May Day, May Day. Well, there's also May Day not necessarily having to do with workers, right? There's a traditional May Day, which is kind of the unofficial start to summer. May 1st is about halfway in between summer solstice and the spring equinox. Okay? And so a lot of people, like technically summer doesn't start until after summer solstice. Technically. But most people think of the start of summer kind of halfway in between the 3 months, a month and a half on either side of summer solstice. So it's just a different way to think about it. I remember when I was a kid on May Day that we did the maypole dance, where you would have the streamers and a large pole, and all the boys would line up on one direction and the girls would line up the opposite direction, and you would take your streamer and go in and out in a circle, and with the maypole, and it would get braided as it went down, and I thought that was fun, celebration of spring. But that wasn't what I was talking about today. Today I was just talking about workers, and it is important to note, though, you really can be pro-worker and not, necessarily mean that you're raising your fist and you're saying workers of the world unite, go communism. No, everybody can be pro-worker, The communists and the socialists do not have, they don't own that at all. The new flame thingy. Okay. Oh, we can hear that. Okay. Let's see. a lot that AOC says I disagree with, like a Medicare for all. The problem is I don't think she actually intends to do it or risk anything for it. Well, my take on it, and that's the thing, right? You don't have to agree with me. I think that that's really important, to be able to respect and, listen to people even if you don't agree with them at all. Now, my take on that is U.S. is the richest country in the history of the world, in the history of history, right? I think everyone should be able to get affordable care. I don't know, I don't say necessarily it has to be free, but everyone should have access to doctors and things like that on some kind of sliding scale or something. But that's my take on it. We don't all have to agree on any of that. My concern for DeSantis getting offed is based on someone's recurring dream, although he hasn't blatantly said it was DeSantis. Okay, well, recurring dreams are scary. I've had a recurring dream most of my life, and I won't tell you about it because it's scary. It's not a good thing. Yeah. Correlation is not causation. It could be that Russian roof jumpers leads to disliking Putin. Well, there you go. That could also be the case. Middle Game is a fantasy book involving alchemy. One of the characters plays chess for a bit, and it made me want to learn chess again. Oh, very cool. I was just reading this last week about alchemy, and it's something I want to talk about in the near future. Eerie Fairy says, I haven't played online, though. I have a little travel set. Well, that's cool. Very nice. Problem with having a little travel set or having a really cool chess set is you need another person to play against. Rev68 says, I used Photoshop 7, released 2002, for years, running in a virtual machine. Just opt for GIMP these days, however. Yes, no more tiki fumes. Well, that was my thought, as if I had a little fake thing, I could not actually have to have a real big fire sitting next to me, but we'll see. GIMP, G-I-M-P, is a graphics program that is open source. It's very similar to Photoshop, and yes, I should probably move to that. I do have Photoshop 2015, I think is what I'm running. And I think businesses do this. It sounds conspiratorial, I know. But they do updates, and they do, you keep getting an update. And I think sometimes they make the update make old software not work as well. Now, I know that, Apple has done this with their iPhone. They've done things specifically to have older models run slower. And they claimed at the time when they got caught, they said, oh, we're doing this to save battery use or some nonsense. They came up with an excuse. I didn't buy it. I think it's, let's make the old models run slow so that you buy the new model. And in this case with Photoshop, after this last, final update or whatever that I had with it, it's just it's running really, really, really slow. So much so that I got to figure out something else, buy a new version or learn GIMP. That's for sure. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. That's all I have for you today. But I will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, with some new stories. And let me know if you heard about DeSantis and this law in Florida that he was not allowed to run. If you heard anybody else before, like the last week, talk about that, I'd like to know who was actually putting out that information. I did some searches for it on NBC and Wall Street Journal and New York Times, and I couldn't find any information about it. But if you happen to know anyone that did, I'd like to know, because I'd like to know who's actually putting out some good news or accurate news. So let me know about that. Y'all have a beautiful day, and I will see you mañana. Peace.